The shared room. Have you ever felt like you're being watched when you're completely alone? That sensation of eyes following you in an empty hallway, or the feeling that something is lurking in the shadows just beyond your sight. Turn off the lights. Put on your headphones, because these stories will make you never sleep alone again. Rain pounded against the windows of the meeting room at Eastbrook College, an all-female university nestled deep in the New England countryside. Inside, President Margaret Wilson, 58, sat opposite a weeping couple, Mr. and Mrs. Richards. Their 19-year-old daughter, Sophia Richards, a sophomore psychology major, had vanished without a trace 72 hours ago. "We're doing everything possible," President Wilson said, her voice serious yet warm. "The police are investigating, and we've notified all staff and students." "Did anyone see her last?" Mrs. Richards asked, her voice trembling. President Wilson glanced down at the file. "Professor Hamilton confirmed Sophia was present for her cognitive psychology exam at 2 p.m. on Tuesday. No one has seen her since. And her car is still in the parking lot," Mr. Richards said, his voice deep. "Nobody leaves campus without transportation, especially in such a remote area." President Wilson didn't voice what they were all thinking. A student vanishing midday on campus with no signs of voluntary departure suggested the most concerning scenarios. Outside the window, the ancient stone and brick buildings of Eastbrook College loomed grimly under the gray sky. Founded in 1872, Eastbrook was one of America's oldest women's colleges, renowned for its liberal arts program and impressive Gothic architecture. The campus was isolated from the nearest town by about 20 miles, surrounded by dense forest, creating a quiet, private learning environment and isolation. President Wilson escorted the Richards family out, promising to keep them updated constantly. When they left, she stood by the window looking out at the campus. Somewhere in the back of her mind, she recalled a similar incident that occurred nearly 25 years ago when she was just a young professor. A student named Emily Harper also mysteriously disappeared. They never found her. "It can't be," she whispered to herself. "It can't be a coincidence." Sophia Richards' disappearance was quickly buried in unsolved case files. Police found no evidence of kidnapping or murder, no signs of struggle, no witnesses, no clues. After months of investigation, the case gradually went cold. The school returned to normal rhythms, though a vague fear still loomed over the campus. 4 years after the disappearance, laughter echoed in the late night as 4 young women stumbled along the stone path leading to Blackwood Dormitory. One of the oldest buildings on campus, Blackwood Hall, was notorious for its gloomy Gothic architecture and persistent ghost stories. "Ashley, are you sure you locked the door?" Madison Bennett, a 21-year-old English literature senior, asked as they approached the dark building. "I think so." Ashley Chen, a 20-year-old junior majoring in biology, replied, her voice uncertain. "But I drank quite a bit at the party, so—" "Oh, God," Zoe Williams, a 20-year-old junior studying fine arts, sighed. "If we get robbed, I'll kill you." "Don't worry," Olivia Rodriguez, a 21-year-old senior in psychology, interjected. "This is Eastbrook. The worst that could happen is someone stealing our ramen noodles." All 4 women shared a small house within Blackwood Hall, one of the premium housing options for juniors and seniors. Their residence had 2 bedrooms, a shared bathroom, a small living room, and a kitchenette. When they reached their front door, fear began to spread. The front door stood wide open, and every light inside was on. "I'm sure I locked it," Ashley whispered, fear replacing intoxication. Madison grabbed the flashlight from her phone and pointed it inside. "Hello, is anyone there?" she called, her voice shaking. No response. "We should call security," Zoe suggested. "Wait," Olivia said, her tone more serious. "Let me check first. Maybe one of us just forgot to lock the door." As a psychology student and the oldest in the group, Olivia often took on the unofficial leadership role. She entered the house first, with the others following closely, huddled together. They checked the living room, kitchen, and bathroom. No signs of break-in or theft. Everything seemed intact, but the tension remained like electricity in the air. "Maybe we just forgot to turn off the lights," Ashley said, trying to reassure herself. "All the lights?" Madison asked skeptically. They continued upstairs where the 2 bedrooms were located. Madison and Olivia shared one room while Zoe and Ashley occupied the other. The door to Madison and Olivia's room was closed. "I'm sure we left it open," Madison whispered. Olivia slowly opened the door. The room was dark and appeared normal. They quickly checked inside, nothing unusual. Next, they checked Zoe and Ashley's room. This door was also closed. Ashley opened it and turned on the light. "Everything looks normal," she said, relieved. But Zoe noticed something. "Someone's touched my paintings." Zoe was a talented artist, and the room was filled with oil paintings and sketches. A portrait that should have been hanging on the wall was lying on her bed. "Maybe it fell down," Ashley suggested, but her voice was uncertain. Zoe shook her head. "The nail is still there. Someone deliberately took it down." All four women looked at each other, the feeling of unease growing. Something wasn't right about this scene. Three women kneeling by the cold riverbank in the middle of the night, washing clothes in silence, completely unresponsive to his presence. This wasn't normal. Zoe reached for her phone, but a sound from downstairs froze them all. "What was that?" Ashley whispered. "I'll check," Olivia said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "You all stay here." "No way," Madison countered. "We're coming with you." The four women crept down the stairs, clinging to each other. The sound had come from the kitchen, a soft thud, like something being placed on the counter. "Hello?" Olivia called out. Silence. They reached the bottom of the stairs and peered into the kitchen. It was empty, but a cabinet door that had been closed was now open. "Okay, I'm calling security," Madison said, pulling out her phone. Before she could dial, the lights throughout the house suddenly flickered and went out. The four women gasped in unison, plunged into darkness save for the dim glow of Madison's phone screen. "What's happening?" Ashley whimpered. "Probably just a power outage from the storm," Olivia said, though she didn't believe it herself. Madison's phone flashlight illuminated the space around them, casting long, eerie shadows on the walls. They huddled closer together, fear palpable in the air. "Let's just get out of here," Zoe suggested. "We can go to the security office and wait there until they check the house." They moved toward the front door, but a sudden cold draft swept through the hallway, chilling them to the bone. The front door, which had been open earlier, was now firmly closed. "Did someone close it?" Ashley asked, her voice barely audible. No one answered. No one needed to. They all knew none of them had touched that door. Olivia reached for the doorknob, but before her fingers made contact, a voice spoke from behind them. A voice that belonged to none of the four women. "Don't go out there. It's not safe." They spun around Madison's phone light, frantically searching the darkness. There at the bottom of the staircase stood a young woman with long dark hair, dressed in an old-fashioned Eastbrook uniform. Her skin was pale, almost translucent, and her eyes were vacant, as if she had been dead for a long time. The four friends froze, too terrified to scream or move. "Who are you?" Olivia finally managed to ask, her psychology training kicking in despite her fear. "I'm the one who came to warn you," the woman replied, her voice echoing as if from a distant place, "like I tried to warn Sophia and Emily before her." "Sophia? Sophia Richards?" Madison asked, recognizing the name. "The girl who disappeared 4 years ago." The apparition nodded. "And Emily Harper in 1994. Neither listened to my warning, and now Zoe won't either." Ashley, still in shock, stammered, You're a ghost." The girl lowered her head. "I'm Sarah Winters. I attended Eastbrook in 1975. I was his first victim, but not his last." "Victim of whom?" Olivia asked, trying to understand what was happening. "The predator," Sarah answered, her voice becoming urgent. "He's still here, after all these years. He never leaves. He watches, waits, learns your habits, and then he strikes." "But who?" Madison asked, tears streaming down her face. "He's had many faces over the years," Sarah said, "but always the same dark, bloodthirsty soul. Sometimes he's a professor, sometimes a security guard, sometimes a groundskeeper, but he always finds a way to stay near the school, near the girls." Olivia felt a chill run down her spine. "Are you saying there's been a serial killer operating at Eastbrook for 50 years? Sarah nodded, her face grim. "And nobody knows. Girls disappear. Some are found, some never are. Police investigate, but they never find him, because he's part of the school. He knows how to hide." And now he's here in this house, Madison whispered, fear rising. Sarah shook her head. Not right now. He's finished with Zoe. He won't return tonight, but he will come back. He always comes back. Why are you warning us? Ashley asked, still skeptical. Why now? Because you could be the last ones he kills if you're smart enough, Sarah replied. I've tried to warn others. Sometimes they listen, usually they don't. But I sense something different about you, especially you. She pointed at Olivia. Me? Olivia asked, confused. You have the ability to see things others cannot, Sarah said, like I did when I was alive. That's why I became his first victim. He knew I could recognize who he was. Olivia felt a chill. As a psychology student, she had always had a special ability to read people, to notice things others missed. She had never thought it could be dangerous. You know who he is? Olivia said, suddenly realizing. You know his true identity. Sarah nodded, her face grave. And now I'll tell you, so you can stop him, once and for all. Madison, Ashley, and Olivia moved closer, eager and afraid to hear what Sarah was about to reveal. He always changes his name and appearance, Sarah began. But there's one thing that never changes, a small, crescent-shaped scar behind his right ear. That's how you'll recognize him. A scar? Ashley asked. That's all we have to identify him. And the eyes, Sarah added, her voice becoming distant. Eyes without a soul. When you look into them, you'll know. Olivia will know. Olivia felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. But how can I find him? Eastbrook has hundreds of staff members. Sarah smiled sadly. He'll find you. He's chosen you as his next targets. That's why he killed Zoe first, to frighten you, to see how you would react. Suddenly the lights in the house flickered. Sarah's form began to fade. My time is running out, she said urgently. Remember the scar, the eyes, and... But before she could finish, a loud noise sounded from upstairs, as if something heavy had fallen. All three women jumped, and when they looked back, Sarah had vanished. We need to get out of here, Madison whispered urgently. Now. No, Olivia said, her voice suddenly resolute. We need to call the police, for Zoe and Sophia, and Emily, and Sarah. The police arrived within 15 minutes of the emergency call. The entire Eastbrook campus erupted with blue and red lights and sirens. Students were instructed to remain in their rooms, doors locked. A crime scene investigation team was summoned. Olivia, Madison, and Ashley were taken to the local police station to give statements. They recounted everything, coming home to find the door open, Zoe's disappearance, and the strange encounter with Sarah Winters. The lead detective on the case, Michael Reeves, listened with a skeptical expression as they told him about the ghost. But when they mentioned Sophia Richards and Emily Harper, he became more attentive. You're saying this ghost alleged that this is part of a string of murders spanning decades? He asked, carefully taking notes. Yes, Olivia answered. And she said the killer is someone connected to the school, a professor's security guard or groundskeeper, someone with a crescent-shaped scar behind his right ear. Detective Reeves exchanged glances with his colleague. We'll look into this information, he said professionally. In the meantime, you'll be relocated to a nearby lodge. You cannot return to Blackwood Hall during the investigation. Are we safe? Ashley asked, her voice shaking. If Sarah is right and he's targeting us next. We'll have police protection for you 24/7, Detective Reeves assured them. You will never be alone. The following days passed in a haze. Zoe's funeral took place amid tears and grief. The Eastbrook campus was enveloped in an atmosphere of mourning and fear. Classes were suspended. Many students left, returning home until the case was resolved. Olivia, Madison, and Ashley remained at the lodge under tight police protection. They followed the news about the investigation, but there seemed to be no significant progress. Until 1 week after the murder, Detective Reeves visited them at the lodge, his face serious but with a glimmer of hope. We checked the records, he said. Sarah Winters was real. She was a student at Eastbrook in 1975 and disappeared in October that year. Her body was found in the woods 2 weeks later. So she was telling the truth, Madison whispered. It appears so. Detective Reeves nodded. And more significantly, we've examined all unsolved disappearances and murders in this area since 1975. There's a pattern. Approximately every 5 years, a female student from Eastbrook either disappears or is found dead. A total of 10 cases, including Sarah, Emily, Sophia, and now Zoe. My God, Olivia whispered, feeling nauseated. This really is a serial killer. Detective Reeves nodded gravely. And now we're checking all male employees at Eastbrook, especially those who have been there for an extended period. The scar, Ashley reminded him. Don't forget to check for the crescent-shaped scar behind the right ear. We're doing that, the detective confirmed. But I'm not here just to update you. I need your help, especially yours, Olivia. Mine? Olivia asked, confused. According to Sarah, you have a special ability to recognize the killer, the detective explained. And we want to test that. We've compiled a list of persons of interest, and we'd like you to look them over from a distance safely to see if any of them give you a strange feeling. Olivia swallowed hard. This was a huge responsibility, but she knew she had to do it for Zoe, for all the victims. I'll do it, she agreed. 2 days later, a meeting was held at Eastbrook College, a press conference about the murder. All staff and professors were required to attend. Olivia Madison and Ashley sat at the back of the auditorium, along with Detective Reeves and other officers observing the crowd. Look at all of them, Olivia whispered. Look at their eyes. Look for the scar. They watched as President Wilson spoke as professors and staff came and went. Olivia tried to examine each person looking for signs. And then she saw him. A middle-aged man dressed plainly, standing near the back door. He wasn't particularly noticeable, easy to overlook. But there was something about his eyes, cold, calculating, scanning the crowd like a predator watching a herd. Over there, Olivia whispered to Detective Reeves, the man near the exit wearing the blue shirt. Detective Reeves looked in the direction she indicated. Frank Mercer, head of maintenance. He's been at Eastbrook for 28 years. Does he have a scar? Olivia asked, unable to see from this distance. We haven't checked, the detective admitted. He has no criminal record, so he wasn't a priority suspect. Check him, Olivia said, unable to take her eyes off the man. There's something wrong about him. After the meeting, Detective Reeves approached Frank Mercer under the pretext of a security check. As they were talking, the detective maneuvered to see behind the man's right ear, and there, nearly hidden by his short hair, was a small crescent-shaped scar. The following days moved quickly. Frank Mercer was brought in for questioning. His house was searched, and what they found shocked the entire town, a secret room in the basement filled with trophies from the victims. Sophia Richards's diary, a bracelet belonging to Emily Harper, and a necklace that Sarah Winters had worn in her last photograph. DNA from the Zoe murder scene matched Frank. The case was solved. Eastbrook's serial killer was finally caught. The day Olivia Madison and Ashley returned to Blackwood Hall to collect their belongings, the air was still heavy with grief and memories. They had decided to move out too many painful memories in that house. When Olivia entered Zoe's bedroom, she felt a cold breeze, and for a moment she thought she saw a figure in the mirror, a young woman with long, dark hair, smiling gratefully. "Thank you, Sarah," Olivia whispered. As they were leaving, Madison picked up a paper from the floor. It seemed to have slipped under the door. It was a bulletin from the president's office announcing a memorial service for Zoe next week. But what made their blood freeze was the final line. "We are also pleased to announce that Mr. Walter Hayes will be taking over the position of head of maintenance, replacing Mr. Frank Mercer, who has retired." And at the bottom corner of the page was a small photo of Walter Hayes, a young man with a friendly smile and cold, soulless eyes. "This isn't over," Olivia whispered, feeling Sarah watching over her shoulder. "It was never really over." Sometimes on cold nights at Eastbrook College, students still report seeing a girl with long, dark hair wandering the hallways trying to warn them. And every few years, a student disappears because evil never dies. It just changes faces. I'll need to write the third story, The Highgate Vampire, and the fourth story, The Washerwomen, according to our outline. Let me proceed with the third story first.